So guys, listen, I'm really here today to talk about a solver state of mind. And what is a solver state of mind? So I grew up as a kid pretty much obsessed with MacGyver. I don't know, anyone obsessed with MacGyver in the audience? Yeah, huge fans. So MacGyver was the problem solver. He was the problem solver of our era. And I was so addicted to him that he became an idol. The problem that I had with MacGyver was he was just too good at problem solving, as you'll see from this video here. This is MacGyver effectively changing a coffin into a fully functional jet ski in the space of 5 seconds. Now, naturally, I reach my limitations. You know, I can't exactly turn a coffin into a jet ski. But what I have tried to do is I've tried to really understand what it does take to be a good problem solver. So I want to use our short time today together to talk about cognitive bias, particularly fixation and its place in creative problem solving. So fixation is essentially an inability for for somebody to see a problem from a fresh perspective. It's always, that's not always a bad thing. You know, as designers, we do need to relate to fixation quite a bit because that's a normal habit of users that we design for. So throughout my career in solvers and designing solutions, I've designed, quite an awful lot of digital experience. I think I asked the team the other day, we've designed over 100 digital experiences for brands such as Loblaws, brands such as British Airways, Airbnb, MasterCard, and so on. And what we've come to realize is that we tend to deal quite a bit in these complex projects with a lot of unknowns. But one of the drivers behind these complex projects are business leaders who are pretty much relentless about their vision and trying to drive their vision forward without true understanding of that their preconception that they've established for the project is actually leading them down a dead end. And I'm sure we've all dealt with business leaders like that before. So what we try to do as a business is to try to deal with that situation and try to demystify the fixation and the obsession that they have when they're trying to design for solutions. So what we typically find is a business leader driving towards designing a solution for a particular reason that's driven by their own vision, or designing a solution based on a hypothesis or assumption of what their users actually need. Now, obviously, that can be quite complex, and it's not really the ideal situation. I want to give you an example of how difficult it is to overcome fixation. So in the image up here, many of us in the audience today may see a clip on the right-hand side, and that clip's purpose is really to hold paper together, and that's as far as our imagination can stretch. That's very similar to how a business leader behaves that we've seen on trying to solve problems. They see a simple function for a solution and can't think past that. But there are people in the audience who don't deal with what's called functional fixedness, and they actually can't see past a paperclip and see other applications for that paperclip. And that's what I want to talk about. So a quick example of what functional fixes is people being able to, functional fixes goes hand in hand with what's called the curse of knowledge, in which people become so familiar with something that they can't unlearn its traditional properties to look at it from a fresh, untrained eye. So thoughts become so effortless that stereotypes naturally form, and the unconscious has no room left for creativity. The principle of functional fixedness was originally coined in 1945 by Carl Duncker, and he was a philosophy of the mind, a psychologist. Duncker gave participants a candle, a box of tacks, and some matches. And the challenge he gave to participants in the room was to attach the candle to a wall and come up with the best way of doing that without letting wax drip onto a table. And what Duncker found in the experiments, the majority of people lit the side of the candle and stuck the candle to the wall, and wax dripped onto the table. Or they decided to tack the candle to the wall using the tacks they were given, and wax dipped onto the cable. But very few participants actually used the box in which the tacks were held in to actually attach the candle to the wall. Why was that? In a later study by Duncker, what he found was if he actually took the tacks out of the box and gave the participants all the same properties, the box, the tacks, the candles, and the matches, they were actually more inclined to attach the candle to the wall using the box because they were able to disassociate themselves from the properties that were there in front of them. Another great example of overcoming functional fixes, which is incredibly important, is the US Army, training cadets in the US Army. So cadets are trained in what's called the reverse direction of attention. So when entering a new environment, cadets are deliberately trained to look from right to left, not from the stereotypical left to right. And why is that important? It contradicts their instinctive left to right recognition pattern that we learn, well, the majority of us learn as kids through Latin-based languages. And what that allows cadets to do is enter new environments more cognitively aware of what's happening in front of them, be able to identify anomalies or identify enemies or obstacles because they're more heightened to actually force themselves to look in a different direction. Now, as creative people, we're non-conformative, meaning fixes is not, or at least it shouldn't be, in our true nature. However, a lack of fixes as designers isn't necessarily a good thing. We do need to actually apply fixes in our design. The reason for that is, as designers and technologists, we must be cognizant to what's called the principle of least astonishment. And this is effectively a rule of thumb that states that user interface work best when people first encounter them and they know what to do. They're able to work through an experience with ease, they're able to overcome their issues with ease, and they're able to actually fulfill the actual job to be done in that experience with a good positive emotion. So effectively, when we must consider design and the importance of functional fixes, as designers, we need to invest in learning and design. They may feel that bending the technology, so if a user feels they need to bend the technology towards what they actually need to commit to it, rather than the technology commit to them, we tend to get a lot of restriction or restraint from users actually applying that. So particularly in product design, it's very important for us to recognize the conventional inside of the box thinking. So actually thinking about what is the constraints of the properties that we need to deal with and how do we adhere to what is the best fit to be able to apply this solution to that person. So a great example of that can be seen in WeChat innovation strategy. Sorry, one sec. So a great example of that can be seen in the WeChat innovation strategy. So not a lot of people notice when WeChat first went to market, they went to market by applying what's called a micro-innovation strategy. So what they did was assess all the competitions in market, the likes of iMessage and WhatsApp, and assessed what they had, which proved to be a really common feature that everyone enjoyed, called read receipts. Now, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience probably have turned off their read receipts or messages for a reason. But what WeChat established, the design team established very early in the process, is that read receipts were deliberately precluded as a product feature despite its popularity. And they did so because they saw read receipts as something that users cannot, that ruins the user experience, that users felt invaded their privacy or actually helped them feel uncomfortable when using the application. And a lot of the reason behind that is anxiety. I'm sure many people, when they send a message to someone, they see the blue ticks and they wait for the response. Anxiety builds. So WeChat established that, and that's what actually helped them be dominant in the market. Now, I want to sum up the talk today quite briefly on talking about, we as designers and we as technologists and what we can do to be better challenging our biases and our functional fixedness. So our biases from time to time can lead us down dead ends. And I think, working in a corporate environment or academia environment, what we try to do as designers and technologists, we try to adhere to the boss's demands. This authoritarian, you need to build this, we should build this. And what I encourage the technologists and designers and academians today in the room is to do is to just revolt against that position and try to develop something that is meaningful. And you can do that by asking yourself a very, very simple question. Is what I'm trying to solve for worthy? What is I'm trying to solve for? And when I do try to solve for this, what is the best outcome I can expect? And how will this improve the lives of people? And those who are entering the hackathon later on, I really want you to apply that mentality coming into the hackathon. How can you come in there trying to solve a profound problem and actually trying to solve a profound problem like Joanna's asked us to do? And I want to leave you with perhaps a motivational video which showcases how great, when you apply time and attention and you ask the right problems, you can overcome functional fixes, you can overcome your cognitive bias to actually be able to produce some profound things. So this is a video by Samsung where they actually asked their team to not think about the restraints of the product or solution, but think of things in a free way.
주님이하고 엄마는 똑같이 살아가는 거야, 지금. 세상에서 제일 사랑하고 엄마가 주님이 엄마를 제일 사랑하고 3일 공일 얘나? 네 3일 세상에서 제일 누구보다도 더 많이
I'll leave you on a note. Today, we're delighted to announce that we're launching solvers.org, which is our attempt to unite creatives, technologists, academics, and actually work on profound solutions. And I want to offer the first award to Joanna and offer a €50,000 grant to work with the Solvers team to produce a solution of our kind as well. So Joanna will get access to all solvers. She'll also get access to our partners who have agreed to sign up to this. And if people want to learn a little bit more about solvers.org, they can log on to solvers.org and read about it. So listen, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing you at the hackathon later on.